gives it to Wall. Working against Bradley for three. What a shot.
3 balls, 2 strikes, the pitch. Swinging a long drive. Deep left field. Going.
Bledsoe back to pass, steps up, going deep. Caught. Oh, T.O. is leveled by Sean Taylor, and he's slow getting up.
Now this could be a run back from 9 deep for Jacoby Jones. And look at him go. Jones is past the 50, and he is flying inside the 20, and a kickoff return, 109 yards and a touchdown, an all-time record.
Holden inbounds to Nicholas. 4 seconds, 3 seconds, he's across midcourt. 2 seconds, 1 second, throws it up, and he got it! And the Terrapins win on the shot by Nicholas at the buzzer!
Hoyas win! Hoyas win! Hoyas win! Hoyas win! Hoyas win!
Puck in front, Connolly with a chance, and they score! They score! The puck on a rebound for Lars Eller! And as the puck drops, the words that DC fans have been waiting to hear since 1974, the Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions!
Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to the DMV Dispute. I am your host, Jeremy, and you can follow me on Twitter at jsquared021. I am joined today by my good friends and debaters, Darrin and Jerrod. You can follow Darrin on Twitter at dbirdhoops and Jerrod at RoddyKG. Darrin, Jerrod, how's everything going with you all?
Everything's going good, man. Good. Excited. Another day, another debate. Let's get it going.
Yep.
Let's do it.
All right, as always, we are proud to do this podcast for one of the top sports websites in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, DMVSportsNetwork.com, and they can be followed on Twitter and Instagram at DMV_SN. They have some great daily content on the website of all things DMV sports, whether it be professional sports, college, and high school sports, and a lot more. So after listening to this podcast, go ahead and check out DMVSportsNetwork.com. In addition, please be sure to subscribe to our show wherever podcasts are available, and that includes Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and SoundCloud. Without further ado, let's get right into it. The NFL Scouting Combine starts this week in Indianapolis. Let's start with you, Jerrod. What are some of the positions that the Washington Redskins should be looking forward to in this upcoming draft?
So some of the positions, I think, and there's so many, the Redskins have so many positions on their roster that they need to be revamped. But I think where it really starts is in the secondary. There's so many questions in the secondary as far as safety. Right now, we have no idea who we're going to start in safety for either the free safety or strong safety position going into next year. So I think defensive backs in those places where they really, really have to go down to Indianapolis and focus on, see who they're going to potentially take this upcoming draft. There's some guys just on the top of my head who I really, really like coming into this draft. Some guys that include Brooks, the safety out of Maryland, big physical guy, doesn't really take a lot of unnecessary hits. So you're not one of those guys you have to worry about having penalties and holding penalties in the secondary and getting the offense extra plays. I like Amari Hooker out of Iowa. I think he's one of those guys definitely going the first round. I don't know if I want to spend our 15th overall pick on a safety unless it's a guy who you really, really love. I think this could be a cornerstone piece to your team. Another guy I really like that's playing in the secondary, I like DeAndre Baker out of Georgia. He's another SEC cornerback, and the SEC has a way of developing corners because they have a lot of size and speed across the entire field in SEC. So those defensive backs really learn how to tackle coming out of college. And I think the Redskins are going to have to find a way to go down to Indy with a game plan, which all the teams are going to have game plan, but they have to come out and figure out that this team isn't as close as we keep telling the press it is, and we had to win on guys in the draft because no free agent in their right mind is going to want to come and play for us unless we overpay them. So we have to win on every single draft pick, and we had to have another good draft like we did last year.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I get it. I'm going to go on the offensive side, though. I think Washington really needs to look at the offensive side of the football. And, I've said this before on Twitter. I've been very vocal about this, but I think the Redskins need to look at a quarterback in the draft. I think it's becoming more and more likely that, a Kyler Murray probably won't fall to us at 15. It's looking like he's going to be going higher. But if we can get a Will Greer possibly as a quarterback, or about him, but like a Drew Lock, maybe. I have questions in that area, but if we can get someone like that at quarterback, I think that's a really important position for the Redskins to develop right now. With Alex Smith, we don't even know if he's ever going to be able to play football again. Colt McCoy, even though we know this, he knows the system, he'll be back, etc. I think quarterback needs to be a position that they need to look at in the draft. I'm also looking at a position like a wide receiver position. That's going to be big because I think that Washington can, have a decent run game. If we get, our running backs, we can get the run game, but we're going to need guys that can catch the football. We're going to need wide receivers. So maybe like a Metcalf, for instance, who's declared for the draft, possibly. But I'm looking at those positions in particular on the offensive side because Washington started as a very good defensive team. I know we've lost a lot of our defensive players, but I still think, I'm looking at offense really, and I think, one of the biggest issues with Washington, especially down the stretch, was just that offensive side of the football. Just, I don't think they're able to move the ball and score like they need to be able to do. So I'm thinking that needs to be a huge focus as far as the draft.
And I understand you coming from the offensive side, saying that the Redskins need to focus on revamping their offense and relying on the pieces they had on defense last year. My whole issue, and I think I said it before, with drafting a quarterback instead of with a team that has the state that the Redskins are in, we don't know if the head coach that's currently on our team is going to be the head coach going into next year. And I hate drafting a quarterback or signing a quarterback that potentially a franchise guy, and you don't know if the coach is going to be there for the next few years. Because if if the Redskins have a really bad season, which they probably will, and Jay Gruden is booted and placed the scapegoat for the issues and is fired at the end of the season, now whoever we bring in, we have to hope that the guy we signed to be the head coach also likes the quarterback we just signed or drafted. Because if not, it's going to be the same issue when Jay Gruden came in and we had RG3 here and Gruden didn't like RG3. And all right, go ahead.
Historically speaking, and just going off of what I know about DC sports in general and whatnot, do you really think that Jay Gruden, even if the Redskins have a terrible season, do you really think that that Jay Gruden isn't going to be around after this year? I see him staying at least a couple more seasons and getting a start in, no matter. I mean, if the Redskins go 0-16, then yeah, Gruden's out. But I think that we need to just kind of think about Gruden as being our guy going forward until there's really some proof that he won't be here. And then we may as well have him pick a guy that he really likes and wants to go forward with.
I mean, Gruden is a guy who's just a middle of the road kind of guy. He's not good, he's not awful, but he'll never be great. And I'm not arguing that he'll be great. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I don't think that we should be prepared for him to be leaving DC anytime soon. That's what I'm saying. I think that Allen and Snyder like Gruden because he's a yes man and will just follow the beat of whatever drum they bang. But I think that with the way the fan base feels about those two, I don't think they could go another offseason without making any changes to the front office or coaching staff that's significant if the season they have this upcoming 2019 season is anything like the ones we've had recently. And they'll be able to, last couple seasons, they were able to blame the injuries and all that stuff on why we were successful. But if it goes a relatively injury-free year, even if there's injuries again, I think Gruden's out the door. So I think Snyder would rather fire Gruden and find somebody else than fire Allen and replace him. So that's why I think Gruden's gone if the Redskins don't have a good year coming into 2019. And unless some miracle happens and they draft incredibly well and they're incredibly healthy and everything works out with Reuben Foster and they somehow wheel their way into a playoff spot, I think Gruden's gone. And so I don't want to draft the quarterback early anyway. And when we need receivers, when we need DBs, when we need linebackers, when we need offensive linemen, if Gruden's not going to be the guy going forward.
Well, all right. So my last point about that is just based on history, I wouldn't be surprised if Gruden if he's around for at least a couple more seasons, simply because I'm not convinced that ownership is still quite ready to cut ties with him yet, unless Washington has an absolutely abysmal season and the Redskins are just like 0-16 or 1-15 or some just absolutely horrible, just everything goes wrong. And then, of course, if we have like a healthy season and things still go wrong, then yeah, he's definitely out the door. But yeah, that's where I'm going with that.
All right. Well, Bryce Harper is still on the Major League Baseball free agent market. It seems like there are 3 teams in the running for his talents, and they are the Philadelphia Phillies, the San Francisco Giants, and the Los Angeles Dodgers, which means that it looks like the Washington Nationals are not trying to pursue him. Darrin, what are the reasons that you think the Washington Nationals are no longer actively pursuing Bryce Harper?
They're just tired of him. They're tired of dealing with it. That's it. Plain and simple. They have their off-season acquisitions. You know, they know, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later, but they've had some pretty nice off-season acquisitions, and I don't blame them for feeling confident with the team that they have right now. So as far as I'm concerned, I think the Nationals are just saying, look, we've had enough of this drama. We're going forward with the team we've got. Now, it should be noted that the Washington or the Nationals they did lose their first spring training game earlier, but this, it's just spring training, and Patrick Corbin, I've got things to say about him a little bit later, but he didn't look that great, but it is just spring training. They're still getting used to things, but I think that they're confident with this team, and I feel like they don't see the need of even trying to offer him an absurd amount of money, which is what I think that Bryce Harper is looking for, an absurd amount of money and in a location that he really wants to be in, and clearly that doesn't seem to be DC. So I think that everybody knows that whatever DC offers him at this point, he's not going to take it. So they're just like going to scrub our hands and just be done with it. Let him find some happiness somewhere else, and just maybe, I don't know, not make the playoffs with another team or something. I don't know, but I think they're just ready to move on.
I don't think that they feel like what they had before there. And it's a move I respect. They had talented guys like Gio Gonzalez, guys like Dave Murphy, Bryce Harper, who are incredibly talented players, best at their positions. And we weren't winning. Nationals, they weren't getting it done. They weren't advancing in the playoffs as deep as they should. And with this whole Bryce Harper contract situation going on, I think that they decided, you know what? We weren't winning before. Now he's asking for all this historically expensive money, all this huge contract, and just in the same situation we were, but now paying him so much more money. And they really weighed the pros and cons and said, you know what? Bryce Harper has a huge star power to star quality, but we have young guys here who could potentially be the next Bryce Harper and can lead us to a point where Bryce Harper wasn't able to do it. And I think that being said, that's why they're no longer in the running to be in the Harper, camp or whatever, or the Harper team, or to be Team Harper. I think they said the guys here have moved on. They maybe even talked to the front office and maybe even talked to the players and said, how do you guys feel if we really been a strong push for Bryce? And guys probably respected him, were friends with him, but felt that if he didn't want to be here, they weren't going to beg him to be here, and felt they could win without him.
Yeah, and I think that just looking at the season, I feel like there were some issues that went on, just between him and other teammates, that I think ultimately everybody just kind of decided that if he didn't want to be here and if he was asking for money and he just really made it clear that this wasn't the place that he was going to want to be unless he got offered, I don't know, $500 million or something to be here, then I think that they said it was probably just for the best that they just move on and develop these new guys and these other guys that they just signed and have got coming in. So, I think it just makes the most sense. And the owner said they moved on, so I'm with it. I'm over it, just like they are.
All right, talking about the Washington Nationals, they've made quite a few offseason acquisitions. We have Jeremy Hellickson, also Kurt Suzuki, just to name a few of the acquisitions that the Nationals have made. With these additions, do you think the Nationals this season are going in with their best team in franchise history? We'll start with you, Jerrod.
I think they did. I think they have one of the more complete teams that they have. Maybe not the most talented as far as star power and just overall best at the position type of guys, but from top to bottom, it's hard now to find a hole in this team. The rotation is solid. Even without Bryce Harper in there, they were able to replace him. Dozier's a solid guy at bat. They have Matt Adams, who's always been a really good bat for the teams he's been on, and they've shored up their pitching rotation. That's one of the main issues that's kept the Nationals from being true World Series contenders. It's been their pitching. They've had top guys. They've had Steven Strasburg. They've had Gio Gonzalez. They've had those guys that were knockout, strikeout type of guys, but once those guys weren't in the rotation, or you get down to your fourth or fifth guy, or even your bullpen, it was really spotty. But bringing in guys like Jeffrey Rodriguez, he didn't. They traded away Jeffrey Rodriguez, I'm sorry. But bringing in guys like Corbin and those type of guys to really round out their bullpen and really round out their pitching rotation, I think it's going to mean all the difference once we get to the later parts of the season, getting into September and October. So I don't know about the most talented, but it's the most balanced team that they've had in a long time, if not ever.
Yeah, I really like this team. I don't know if I can say ever, but I think that their bullpen leaves something to be desired. Just looking down the roster, I mean, after Sean Doolittle, there's not a whole lot going on there, but I'm super excited about the rotation. I'm excited about Corbin. Patrick Corbin is going to be really, really good for this team. He's going to be a guy to watch. Other guys to watch. Juan Soto, have you heard of this kid? I mean, this kid, I think he's going to be something special for the Nationals. So I know he's coming. He's on his way. He's going to be someone to look at. But I'm really excited about the pitching rotation for sure. I'm excited about this team. I think I agree. I think all around, this is probably the most balanced team I think I've seen from the Nationals. It doesn't seem too overly top heavy necessarily. And I think, sort of piggybacking off of our last topic, the loss of Harper, even though he's a star, it could in some ways be addition by subtraction if you think about it, because it does give other guys to shine, a chance to shine. It gives these other guys a chance to possibly develop into stars. And, I like this team going forward, and especially thinking about the playoffs. Should the Nats make it back to the playoffs next season, then I think that they'll be a team to watch out for, especially with their new additions, if they can make it there. And we'll also see what happens to the deadline. Like I said, I'm not super crazy about the bullpen, but anything, I think that can be fixed, at the deadline before postseason comes, should the Nats make it there. But I'm excited about this team.
All right, before we continue, it's time to tell you about DMV Sports Network's library of podcasts. Right now, we have 9 active shows, including team shows for the Washington Redskins, the Capitals, Nationals, Wizards, and Ravens. We also have Fantasy Fever, which is dealing with all things fantasy football, and a pair of mixed bag shows from It's About Time DC and Diamond Thunder. All of these shows are available wherever podcasts can be found, so please check these out. And if you like any of these shows, please leave a review or even subscribe on all platforms. After the extended road trip, after the Capitals went on this extended road trip and ended the road trip with an over 500 record and the new acquisitions right before the trade deadline, are the Capitals putting themselves in position for a legitimate Stanley Cup run? Let's start with you, Darrin.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit more confident about the Capitals now than I did before. I've always said that their consistency leaves a lot to desired. In the back of my head, I can't get past that 7-game losing streak. I can't get past the penalties, but the new acquisitions have me excited, and, being able to see them gel, hopefully getting to see them gel as we move closer to the postseason. We're past the trade deadline. As we move closer, past All-Star break and getting closer to the postseason, I'm very excited what this team has to offer. Ovechkin is still a star. The Stars are playing well, and I was very impressed, especially with their great win over the Rangers. I don't know if you saw in that overtime game. That was amazing.
Yesterday against the Rangers. Yep.
I was so excited, and it was good. This looks like the Capitals team that can make another run at a Stanley Cup this year. So I still have little nagging doubts with what I've seen, but I know that this team can turn it on in the postseason. They've proven it, and you've got guys here that have won, that know how to win. So I think that in the postseason, I'm feeling a little bit more confident after seeing the consistency and ending over 500 on this road trip. I'm in. I'm all in.
All right, so if you all in, that must mean I'm super all in, because I've been in on this Capitals team even through all the bad stuff that was going on throughout this whole season, 7-game losing streak, the penalty kills, all of it. I've been in on this Capitals team all year. And anybody who knows me, I'm not a huge hockey guy. I couldn't name you all the teams in the NHL, but I'm a DC guy. And I love this Capitals team. I love that they went out and knew that they had to make moves, but didn't do anything too drastic that would mess up the chemistry that was already on this team. And so I think after a solid road win and a good win against, like you said, the Rangers, 6-5 overtime win, that was a really good win. You get to see some of the new guys come in and play a little bit, especially the guy they really were excited about to get, that Jensen, I believe his name was, Jensen's debut against the Rangers. I think he even had a little bit of time on the ice. He was able to contribute right away without even practicing with the team. And bringing in a guy like that and immediately extending his contract 4 more years, they must feel like they got a really good deal with this guy and feel like they can come in with him right away, add him to the rotation, and he could really help them get back to that winning formula they had a year ago. And so I'm in on this team because I trust that they have chemistry coming in, and they brought in 2 guys that can help them win without shaking anything up and causing more confusion, causing more recklessness in the locker room. So good move by the Capitals. I'm excited for it. I'm ready to see them finish out these last couple of months before the playoffs and really become a championship contender the way they were last year.
All right. Let's move down a level. We have not spoken about the Georgetown Hoyas as of yet, but we're going to do that right now. Xavier, they defeated the national champion or the defending national champions, Villanova. And with that victory over Villanova, it kind of evened things out in the Big East. Right now, the Georgetown Hoyas are number 6 when it comes to the standings in the Big East. However, everyone's pretty jumbled up pretty closely. The only team in the NFC, thinking about football right now. The only team that's really head and shoulders above the rest of the competition is Marquette in the Big East. So with Georgetown being the 6th team, and they have a record of 16-11 right now, do you think that the Georgetown Hoyas can make a run for the Big East title, which will be coming up in a couple weeks in New York? Do you think they can run the table and actually get a good shot at making the NCAA tournament? Start with you, Jerrod.
Okay, so I definitely think there's a shot for the Georgetown Hoyas to make a play for the Big East title. They have about 5 or 6 games left in the regular season. They have 5 games left. On Wednesday, they play DePaul. They have Seton Hall coming up on the 2nd. They play DePaul again almost a week from now, and then they finish out their season with Marquette. Now, of those 5 games they have left, of those 4 games they have left, 3 of those games are incredibly winnable. I think they have a chance against DePaul both times when Seton Hall's a beatable team. Even though they did just lose by 15 to Seton Hall not too long ago, I feel like Georgetown's one of those teams where when they're on, they're really on, and they're hard to get out the gym. But the way they play, they can't afford to have off shooting nights. But you can say that about the entire Big East. And I think that if they go 3-1 in this final stretch, finish 19-12, they can really set themselves up for the Big East tournament and just have a good string of games. And who knows? Marquette's probably the one who'd be favored to make it to the Big East championship, but I can see them beating teams like Seton Hall, like Creighton, like Butler, like Providence. Georgetown is just as good as every one of these other teams in the Big East, and not that much worse off than teams like Xavier, Nova, and Marquette. So I'm ready to see how Patrick Ewing can really pull his team together, see if he can, get them to get up for these last few games and go into the tournament with a head of steam and maybe make a play for the NCAA tournament. They're already an NIT lock. But if they have a good stretch to finish it out and make a good run in the Big East, it might be difficult to lead them off the top 64 teams going into the NCAA bracket. So, yes, I think they have a definite shot to make it, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do.
Yeah, I have to say they have a shot, but I don't know. I have this nagging feeling that they're I have this nagging feeling that they're just going to get overtaken. I'm not wholly convinced. I don't think that Georgetown is necessarily in an ideal position to get there. I think they do have a shot. They do have a chance for all of the reasons that you mentioned, but also by that same token, because the Big East is so sort of leveled out with where Georgetown is. It's Marquette, and it's like everybody else. Any one of these teams can catch fire, and then by the same token, Georgetown can just they can fizzle out. And it's like you said, can Patrick Ewing get these guys up to really compete? And I think there's a possibility he can. I also think there's a possibility with these last few games, with several of them being very winnable, they're also losable. I think Seton Hall, yeah, Seton Hall can be beaten, but Georgetown can also lose to them, And I'm not wholly convinced that Georgetown is gonna make it, and I'm not fully comfortable saying that they're gonna make it. I know they're a lock for NIT, but I don't know about that NCAA being an NCAA tournament team.
Okay. So looking at the current predictions, right now I'm going to be basing this off of CBS Sports and their current bracket predictions for the NCAA tournament. Right now, as of February 25th at 9 p.m., Seton Hall, St. John's, Marquette are the three Big East schools that they have slotted to make the NCAA tournament. And right now, Georgetown is listed as one of the first four out, along with Butler. And Seton Hall is one of the last four in. So there's three teams currently projected to be in the tournament and three more teams on the bubble. And what I'm saying is, between those three on the bubble, and even teams like I said, like Seton Hall and St. John, Georgetown can play with either one of those teams. And if it comes down to the Big East tournament and they get on a good run, I don't know if they don't surprise a lot of people and end up making this NCAA tournament. And it will be something. It would be amazing to see a Big East tournament in championship come back to Georgetown. It would be amazing. It would be even more amazing to see Georgetown in the NCAA tournament. It'd be cool if we can get a bracket with Maryland and Georgetown on the same region. It can't happen. I think NCAA rules. I think if you play in a venue like X amount of times, you're ineligible to be in that region where the venue's held, and Eastern region's being held at Capital One Arena. That's the home court for the Hoyas. So there's no way. They'll probably be put they probably put in like in the Midwest or in the South. So anyway, but they have to get there first. And I think they can. I think they have a chance. I think because they're teams that Georgetown has a better record than, that I think are more talented, that Georgetown's more talented than. It's just they happen to be in a weaker conference, or they happen to be a team that had a nice run. But definitely, I could definitely see Georgetown making it. And I think they have a good shot to make it.
Yeah, I could see. I agree with you to an extent, but I could see a team like Butler, they could catch fire and they could easily, take off. They could catch Georgetown. At the same time, I could see Georgetown just sort of falling apart in these last few games. I'm hot take alert. I've never been entirely sold on Patrick Ewing as a coach. I was excited when he was hired by Georgetown, but I was never completely sold on him as a coach. And I know it's like a hot take, and everybody crucifies me for it. But I'm like, I was excited, but I've never been fully all in on Patrick Ewing. Amazing player, fantastic player, but as a coach, I've never been fully sold on him. So I don't know. I'm I'm not confident with saying that Georgetown can really make it in this year.
I mean, and I don't think he has enough of a experience as being a coach to have me say whether or not I think he's good or bad.
Yeah.
I think he has the potential to be good, but it's really tough, and this has been historically proven. It's really tough for legendary players to end up being good coaches. It's hard for them to make the transition for whatever reason, and I guess that's a conversation for another day. But I don't know. Yeah, but it's the college level. I think he has a chance, and he learned from one of the great college coaches of all time, and so I think what John Thompson taught him and what he learned from him. I'm sure he still has conversations with him that I think he'll be able to translate that and be able to get them up for this little stretch. Show them, hey, they got us right here in the bubble. We're this close. Let's go ahead and do what we have to do. Go out here and win some games and see how far we can actually go. So,
yeah, fair.
All right. Bradley Beal of the Washington Wizards. He was an all-star this season, and he played, obviously, in the all-star game in Charlotte just 2 weekends ago, or last weekend. He is having one of his best seasons of his career. He's averaging 25.7 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on 47% from the field, 35% from three, which is fine. And he's having a PER, or a player efficiency rating, of 20.4. So that is one of his best seasons that he's having. Does Bradley Beal deserve to be on one of the 3 All-NBA teams? Let's start with you, Darrin.
So Bradley Beal is, in my opinion, he is having a career year. He is having, in my opinion, his best season. I was convinced that with John Wall going down, Bradley Beal would play really well for a while, and then he'd sort of level off. History has sort of proven that he can't sustain this level of play over an extended period of time if it's just him. By history, I mean last season, because eventually it sort of leveled out towards the end, right before John Wall came back. But no, I think that the amount of really good guards that we have in the NBA, coupled with the fact that the Wizards just aren't winning, they're not a good team. So Bradley Beal's stats are basically empty stats. Even though he's having a career year, I don't see him making an All-NBA team. I would love to see it, but I just don't see it happening. There are a lot of really deserving guards, and this league is just it's grown to be so dependent on guard play. We're so in that area that I think he just becomes a forgotten guard. He's just like another really good guy on a bad team, like a Devin Booker, like I guess I should say a Kemba Walker, even though they're technically in the playoff picture. If the season ended today, they'd be in the playoffs. But I think Bradley Beal is just another really good player on a bad team. And I think that's ultimately what hurts his case for an All-NBA bid. But he is having a career year. I would love to see him make an All-NBA team, but I don't see it happening, simply because of the Wizards' record and the fact that his stats aren't really contributing to them winning.
Okay. So I'm on the other side of it. I think that if you would have asked me about just the top of my head, is Brad Beal an All-NBA caliber guard? I'm saying no. He's good. I would say what you just said. He's good, but he's not All-NBA. Like, All-NBA is All-NBA. But sitting down and thinking about it for a second while you were talking, I'm sitting here thinking, you know what? He might be an All-NBA guard this year. So right now, let's look at, if we're going to break it down, All-NBA teams, 5 players per NBA team, 3 All-NBA teams, so 15 total players make it. 2 of those positions on each All-NBA team go to guards. The other 3 go to front court players. So there's 6 guard positions to be doled out for All-NBA. Let's say 4 of those are going to go to the all-star starters that were voted in as the best guards in the league this past all-star weekend. Because there weren't, for this year, for the guards anyway, there weren't too many snubs. Anyway, so let's say the 4 guards that were starters this year: Kemba Walker, Steph Curry, James Harden, and Kyrie. Let's say they take up all NBA 1 and 2 teams. So let's say all NBA 3rd team, the first bid of the reserves has to go to Russell Westbrook. I don't see it going to anybody else. Agreed? Right. So that leaves,
I can agree with that.
So that leaves the 6th guard spot up for grabs. And if we're going off the All-Star roster, it's between D'Angelo Russell, Dame Lillard, Brad Beal, and Kyle Lowry as those last guard spots. Everybody else, I mean, I don't know if Ben Simmons is going to be considered a guard or a forward. Either way, I'll put Bradley Beal over him. And Chris Middleton is the same way, where I don't know if he plays primarily guard or forward, mostly guard lately. But Bradley Beal's having a better year than him anyway. And Victor Oladipo is out for the season, hasn't played since almost the end of 2018. So between those guys, Lillard, Lowry, Westbrook, Russell, and Westbrook will automatically get one. The only competition I really see for Brad is Dame time out in Portland, and their numbers are similar this year. And Portland is doing how? Where are they standing in the West at the moment? Portland is 4th in the West.
They're 4th in the West, right?
They're 4th in the West. So he's putting, like you said, Bradley Beal might be empty stats. Dame's putting up similar numbers compared to Brad, whose team is so far at the playoff race at the moment. But if it came down to it, depending on how Brad finishes out, if he continues to have an incredible year, and I don't know how they split it up, if it comes out to a vote, Bradley Beal might get his vote split just because of people who notice how well he's doing, coaches notice how well he's doing. I doubt he makes it, but he might be deserving of it. I think that he has earned it. It's just unfortunate that the Wizards are in a situation where they're not in a playoff race, which you can't put on Brad Beal at all. He's done everything he can to get them into position to be successful, to win. And the reason why they're not in the playoffs is a topic for another day. I think it's the guy who wears some ugly glasses and stands on the sidelines every game. But Bradley Beal has had an all-NBA season, and it should be rewarded. I think his season is so much more deserving of just a all-star bid. I think it's something that should be rewarded with something more, and I hope it happens for him because I think he does deserve it. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I can't get past the idea that if you had to put it between Dame Dollar and Bradley Beal, I can't see Damian Lillard not getting it simply because of where the Trailblazers are in the standings, the fact that they're still going to make the playoffs, because they're going to make the playoffs. Let's just be honest.
They're fourth in the West with a month and a half left of games. Like they're going to make the playoffs.
They're going to make it. And the Wizards, okay, let's be honest, they're not going to make the playoffs. I don't want to hear how many games they are out of 8. I don't want to hear it anymore. They're only They're only no. They're out. Just pack it up. They're gone. But the Wizards just tend to be that forgotten team. They just tend to be that team that's not even like among the bad teams. They're just such a middle of the road team that nobody really talks about them. When you only talk about the Wizards in the sense of like everybody hates John Wall allegedly, which isn't true, but again, another topic for another day. But when you have to talk about that because there's literally nothing else to talk about because the Wizards are just such a blah team, then I think that affects the narrative. And just seeing that happen, I can't see Bradley Beal getting that last All-NBA guard spot. I mean, I think if we're being completely honest, looking at what you said with the top 4 guards, you've got, just for anyone that may not know, we're talking Steph Curry, we're talking James Harden, we're talking Kemba Walker, we're talking Kyrie Irving. Okay, just in case you forgot. I don't even really see Kemba Walker getting that top spot. I think you would probably flip it, Russell Westbrook and Kemba Walker.
Agreed.
With Westbrook getting that second, and then you'd have Kemba Walker and a Damian Lillard getting that third All-NBA team, you know? And I think, if anything, even though he's not having a great year, I think just by virtue of where the Warriors are and whatnot, people are still going to be talking about Klay Thompson as an All-NBA player, even though by his standards, by the Warriors standards, he's not having a great year. He's still going to be in that conversation because of where the Warriors are and because of just the name recognition and who he is. You know, he's still a player, and you've got guys up there like that. And if you're going to count Ben Simmons as a guard, which I imagine they would be, he's in that conversation. So just looking at this guard range, who's the forgotten guy? It's going to be Bradley Beal. I mean, he was picked last in the All-Star draft. So, I mean, he's the forgotten guy, even though his numbers suggest, yeah, he's a great player, which he is. He's come a long way, and he's been such a great leader. I just don't see him getting that last All-NBA bid.
And it's a shame because I think that it's unfortunate because his talent is one where he's definitely a top 5 shooting guard. He's arguably top 3. And it's unfortunate that doesn't go noticed outside this DC market, where I saw on Twitter comparisons to, would you rather take Brad Beal or Buddy Hield? And I'm just sitting here thinking, wow, like people's perception of Bradley Beal outside of DC is really that low, where a solid shooting guard in Buddy Hield is compared to a perennial all-star Bradley Beal. It's ridiculous. And Bradley Beal is top 5 shooting guard, arguing for top 3 shooting guards in the league. And it's a shame that he's not going to be recognized on an All-NBA list, where John Wall wasn't eligible, and guys like Victor an off year, and it's a shame guys like Chris Paul won't be eligible either. And it's a shame that he won't. This probably his only opportunity to get an award like this, and he won't get it. That's a shame, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out. They still got games to play.
Yeah.
They still have games to play right now. What are they at? 60 games played so far.
Yeah, a lot of games. Yeah.
I mean, more basketball.
Yeah, I can't see a situation in which the Wizards have any decent ending to the season, simply because, if you look at it, when was the last time the Wizards won a game? Does anyone know? When did they last win a game? I can't even remember.
No idea.
I don't remember. It was sometime before All-Star break. I don't remember who they played. I don't remember who they beat. I think the last game that they won was when they blew out the Pacers on ESPN on a Wednesday night. I feel like that was the last game that they won.
The last game the Wizards won, February 9th against the Bulls. It's the last game.
Oh, right. The Portis and Jabari Parker returned to Chicago game. That's right. Yes. Of course. So that's a long time. That's, what day is it? February 25th. That's a lot of days to not. Oh, and the Wizards play again this week. Yeah, of course. But anyway, so I don't know. To get back on track, I see the Wizards just being that forgotten team, Bradley Beal just being another good guard. And we haven't even talked about a guy like a Devin Booker, who's playing really well, but he's in
their team
Phoenix,
is trash.
so we don't care about him. And I feel like even a D'Angelo Russell, who's having an amazing season, he plays for the Nets, and the Nets are probably going to make the playoffs this year. But they're still the Nets, and so they're the Nets that, hey, finally have their draft pick this year, just in time to make the playoffs, so that it's lower. But when you look at it, there's a lot of guards, and even then, even looking at a team like the Nets, look, if they make the playoffs, look at that. That's another guard that you could put ahead of Bradley Beal simply because he's D'Angelo Russell. So, and he's on the Nets, and they made the playoffs, so he's having a really nice year. So I don't know. I don't see it happening for Beal.
All right. I'm going to throw a curveball to both of you all and add a question that we did not prepare to talk about, but the Baltimore Ravens have released wide receiver Michael Crabtree. Just real quick, start with you, Jerrod. Is that a good or bad decision?
I mean, for the Ravens?
Yes.
It's a neutral decision. Michael Crabtree's one of those guys who has talent, but there's probably 6 different Michael Crabtrees in the NFL. He's just one of the more popular ones, I guess. His skill set isn't anything that's, crazy desirable. He doesn't take the top off the defense, really, and he's not a guy who's going to get you 1,000 yards consistently. They could do better. Honestly, they release Michael Crabtree. Let's say in 2 weeks, Skins decide to move on for Jameson Crowder, and Crowder signs with the Ravens. They made a slight upgrade from Crabtree, and didn't have to pay Crowder any much more money than they're paying Crabtree. So, no, like I say, it's a good move for them because they won't be made worse because of it.
All right, Darrin, what do you think about the release of Michael Crabtree?
Yeah, I think it was a good move for the Ravens. If anything, less than being a good move, I think it's one that doesn't really wholly impact them. At least it doesn't impact them negatively. I mean, Crabtree, he wasn't having, a great season last year, and I mean, he is 31. He's on the wrong side of 30. He's getting older, and I think that the Ravens, especially with the direction that they're headed, they can find an upgrade either in free agency or a potential upgrade in the draft. So I don't think it negatively impacts Baltimore. Maybe it's not necessarily a great move in far as being like positive or making them better just for his release, but I don't see it. It definitely doesn't negatively impact the team. I think if anything, they can only go up from here, if not moving just laterally to replace him. It's not a bad move at all.
All right. For our final question for this episode, the XFL will be debuting in 2020, and Washington, D.C. will be part of the inaugural season. At the moment, we do not know what the nickname of the team will be, but we do know that the head coach and the general manager will be Pep Hamilton. Pep Hamilton was famously or known for being the offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts under Chuck Pagano. He's also a Howard University alum, which is located in Washington, D.C., for those who do not know. This new startup league that's going to be here in Washington, D.C. Jerrod, you going to be excited about this?
I'll be excited just because there's an opportunity for me to see football year-round in D.C. I mean, other than that, I don't know who's going to be playing in it. I'm not really excited about the whole prospect of secondary leagues, but I'm all for football in any kind of form or fashion that I could get it. I'm more excited about Pep Hamilton, actually. I think that his decision to do this, when he could have easily probably gotten a job in the NFL, even something that was an offensive, position coach somewhere. I think his decision to do this is maybe a little hint, a little indicator. I'm going to go, real far left of these speculations. I think he wants to come to DC and coach because he wants to play for the Redskins. He wants to coach for the Redskins. I think he sees that Gruden's time is coming to an end sometime soon, probably, and he wants to be just close so he don't have to travel that far for an interview. I think that he's a guy that can really, really help a team like the Redskins. He has almost about as good as resume, if not a better resume than what Jay Gruden had when he came into the head coach. And shoot, I have a better resume than what Jim Zorn had when he became the Redskin coach. And so I think that XFL is going to bring people, coaches, players to DC and be another source of talent to pull for the Redskins, whether it be from the player ranks or from the coaching ranks or from the front office and scouting ranks. And so that's what I'm excited about the XFL for. Another source, another talent pool for the Redskins to potentially use to make themselves better. So that's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, as far as the XFL goes in DC, I could take it or leave it. I wasn't crazy about, the XFL before it originally folded after the 2001 season, but if they can make a better product out of this XFL, this turn of the XFL, sure, why not? I mean, it gives us more options in DC. It gives us, like you said, off-season football. So I'm all for that, and just something else to do on like a Sunday afternoon or whenever, just let's do it. But I mean, I'm not, I could take it or leave it, honestly, because like I said, the original XFL, I wasn't excited about it. But like you said, if it is a possible talent pool, talent source for the Redskins or the NFL in general, then sure, by all means, why not? But yeah, I'm not. I could take it or leave it. It is what it is.
So I think the only reason I'm going to have some sort of excitement is because they'll be playing at Audi Field, and that venue, from what I understand, is a very good venue to watch sports. So you'll be up close and personal. Also, it's just another sporting team to follow in the Washington, D.C. area. Now, you all brought up a great point about the first stint that the XFL had. It was too gimmicky. My understanding is this one will not have all of the gimmicks that the first stint the XFL had in the early 2000s. Because I remember, man, I mean, even as a teenager, I thought the product was terrible. But then from what I understand, this one's going to be a lot better. But I am a little excited because it is going to be here in Washington, D.C. Like the AAF, we're seeing these teams are in Atlanta, Orlando, San Antonio, Salt Lake City, Birmingham, just to name a few of those. I might have named all of them actually, but
almost all of them.
Yeah, Birmingham, Memphis. Yeah, I think I named all of them probably. But yeah, it's just gonna be cool to say, okay, well now DC has one, but yeah, obviously the product has to be good. So yeah, year one, yeah, I'm gonna try and go to a game, but if it's not good after year one, I'm not gonna care about it for year two.
Right.
Same, and I think that it's one of those things where, yeah, it's exciting to get off-season football. It's just after a while between the NFL, the AAF, and the XFL, the saturation of the quality of the product starts to really show, and it's going to become really hard to get quality guys to play football and then not look sloppy. I don't want to pay money to go to RFK or Audi Field, whatever they're calling it now, and watch a team that looks like a older high school team. And so I just hope the product is, like I say, is good, but also that it doesn't become too gimmicky. And I can see it, like, even though it's not their attention now, but if the first season is bringing the numbers they want, who's to say we're not a couple bad seasons away from an XFL reality show. And nobody, I don't want that. I don't want, all the gimmicky stuff to happen again, just making it updated for 2019 and social media happy. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see. And it's funny, I brought up Jim Zorn a minute ago, and he just got hired to be the GM and head coach of the XFL team in Seattle. So, XFL is what they're, a lot of these AF and XFL teams are doing the smart thing by going out and getting old guys from the NFL who have talent and have name recognition to get players excited and fans excited about seeing them coach and run a team. And it's interesting to see because I think the NFL doesn't do a good enough job of trusting former players in front office positions. You don't see it as often as you would think you would. Former great players. You've seen some guys who played little small stints in the NFL make their way up the ranks or into coaching in the front office, but you don't really see legendary guys take front office ranks as often as you do. And I think what the XFL and NFL and AF are doing to kind of bring those guys into the fold is a good idea.
Yeah, my one big thing that I like about the XFL this time around is that the commissioner is Oliver Luck, who, if you don't know, Oliver Luck is Andrew Luck's father.
Yeah,
we all know Andrew Luck. So I am excited that as opposed to the original XFL, which was created by Vince McMahon, if I remember correctly. So it's like a big WWE and like performance thing, and it's just not great. But this time they really do seem to be approaching it from more of a football mind and a football standpoint, an NFL type standpoint without really being NFL itself. But so I mean that there is reason to be optimistic, but I need to see it first before deciding, because I don't want it to be just, if it's going to be like, well, yeah, the players won't have crazy nicknames, but it's still going to be like, a show or whatever, like a reality show, then I'm out on it. But I mean, hey, more DC sports. Why not? I'm always for that.
Well, that'll about do it for us here. Hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, subscribe to us wherever podcasts are available, and maybe even leave us a review on iTunes or any of those podcast directories. Leaving a review and a rating will help us grow in the charts and reach more people. You can find us on Twitter. I am J2 021. Darrin is DBirdHoops. And Jerrod is Roddy KG. Don't forget to check out DMVSportsNetwork.com and follow them on Instagram and Twitter at DMV_SN. And if you want to join the team, you can do so by contacting them via Twitter, the website, or shoot them an email at DMVSportsNetwork@outlook.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.
Be easy, guys. Thank you.
Easy.